Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the Neptune's Dawn. He looked out at the stars through the big window. 3 months ago, Earth stopped getting messages from the Galactic Council. At first, no one worried much. Space communication was always hard. But then every colony, every space station, and every alien friend went quiet at the same time. Something was very wrong. "Any news from the far colonies?" Jake asked Amy Parker, his communication officer. "Nothing, Captain. No signals from Kepler, Station, New Geneva, or the mining bases. It's like the whole galaxy just stopped talking," Amy said, worry clear in her voice. Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her computer. She studied alien life forms for the ship. "Captain, I checked all the last messages we got. There's something strange. Every message from every species stops in the middle of a sentence. No warnings, no goodbye messages. They just stop." The Neptune's Dawn was one of 12 human ships sent out to find answers. Humans had joined the Galactic Council only 50 years ago. The aliens thought humans were simple and backward. While aliens had amazing technology that could fold space and travel instantly, humans still used old rocket ships. While aliens had perfect peace through changing their genes and controlling their minds, humans still fought wars and argued with each other. Commander Ryan Brooks, Jake's second officer, looked at his screen showing nearby space. "Sir, we're getting close to the Vega system. If we want answers, we'll find them there. The Vegans always talk the most in the council meetings." When they came out of hyperspace near Vega Prime, the crew saw something that scared them deeply. The planet that once had billions of smart beings was still there. The cities still shined. The space station still worked. But there were no life signs anywhere. No energy readings. Nothing moved. "It looks like everyone just left," Amy whispered. Jake sent teams down to the planet to look around. What they found made no sense. Food was still on tables half-eaten. Children's toys were scattered in parks. Cars were stopped in the middle of streets. But there were no bodies anywhere. No signs of fighting. No hint of where a whole civilization had gone. The teams searched for days. Every building, every street, every underground tunnel was empty. The aliens hadn't packed their things. They hadn't said goodbye to anyone. They had just disappeared. In the great library of Vega Prime, Dr. Grant found something that made her blood run cold. She was looking through the final records of the Vegan Council when she discovered their last official entry. It was written just 3 days before the galaxy went silent. The message was short but terrifying. "The humans must not know what we have done." Jake called all his officers to the meeting room. "What could they have been hiding from us?" he asked. Ryan shook his head. "We were the newest members of the council. They barely trusted us with basic information. What could be so bad that an entire galaxy would just disappear?" Dr. Grant had been studying the abandoned computers and databases. "Captain, I found something else. The Vegans weren't the only ones keeping secrets. I found hidden files that show they were watching us very closely. Not just watching, they were studying everything about humans. Our biology, our psychology, our technology, even our dreams." "Why would they study us so much?" Amy asked. "I don't know yet," Dr. Grant replied. "But these files go back decades. They were collecting information about humans long before we officially joined the council." Jake looked out at the empty planet below them. Vega Prime had been home to some of the smartest beings in the galaxy. Their technology was thousands of years ahead of humanity's. Their cities were beautiful, and their people were peaceful. Now it was all empty. "Sir," Ryan said quietly, "what if we weren't as welcome in the galaxy as we thought?" The question hung in the air like a dark cloud. The crew of Neptune's Dawn had come looking for their alien friends. Instead, they had found empty worlds and terrible secrets. Over the next few days, they checked every planet in the Vega system. All of them were the same. Empty but untouched, as if everyone had simply vanished in an instant. The more they searched, the more questions they had. In the central government building on Vega Prime, Dr. Grant found more hidden files. These were different. They talked about something called Project Silence and mentioned human containment protocols. The files also had maps showing the location of every human colony and outpost in the galaxy. They were tracking all of us, she told Jake. Every human ship, every human settlement, every human explorer. They knew exactly where we all were. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. It sounds like they weren't our friends at all. As the Neptune's Dawn prepared to leave the Vega system, Amy picked up a weak signal from deep space. It was faint and far away, but it was definitely artificial. Someone or something was out there beyond the edge of the galaxy. "Captain," she said, her voice shaking. "I think I know where they went." The signal came from the dark space between galaxies, where no one was supposed to be able to live. If the aliens were out there, they had gone very far to hide from something. The question was, what were they hiding from? And why did their last message warn that humans must never find out their secret? Jake ordered the ship to follow the signal. Whatever had happened to make an entire galaxy of advanced aliens run away and hide, humanity deserved to know the truth. Even if that truth was more terrible than they could imagine. 3 weeks after leaving Vega Prime, the Neptune's Dawn met another human ship in deep space. It was the Starbound Fortune, a trading ship commanded by Captain Pete Sullivan. Pete's crew had been doing normal business runs when the galaxy went quiet. Like Jake's crew, they were trying to find out what happened. "Jake, you have to see what we found," Pete said when they talked through video screens between their ships. "We discovered an old alien research station near the Proxima Centauri system. Most of the computer files are broken, but we managed to fix some of them." Pete's face looked worried and angry. "They were studying us, Jake, not just watching us, from far away. They were studying humans like we were animals in a zoo. The crews from both ships worked together to fix more of the broken computer files. What they found was shocking. The Galactic Council had not just been watching humans develop, they had been secretly stopping human progress for hundreds of years. Every time humans invented something new and important, bad things would happen. Science labs would explode. Smart scientists would disappear. Important projects would suddenly lose their money. The crews discovered that alien companies had been secretly causing all these problems. Dr. Lisa Grant studied all the information they found. She explained it to everyone from both ships. "The aliens were scared of us," she said. "Humans are different from every other species they ever met. All other aliens developed their technology by working together peacefully. But humans developed technology through fighting and competing with each other. The aliens thought we were dangerous because we never stopped being aggressive and competitive. While other species changed their bodies and minds to become peaceful, humans stayed the same. To the aliens, we were like a disease that could destroy their perfect, peaceful galaxy." Chief Engineer Mike Davis from Pete's ship found something even more disturbing in the computer files. "The alien devices aren't just in our spaceships and computers," he said, his voice shaking with anger. "They put special chemicals in our food, our medicine, even our drinking water back on Earth. For decades, they've been making human brains work slower and weaker. They wanted to make us calm and stupid, less creative, less human." Commander Ryan Brooks found more secret files that explained what had happened 3 months ago. "They tried to do something final to us," he said. "They created a special energy field that was supposed to make all humans completely obedient and harmless. But something went wrong. Instead of making us weaker, it did the opposite. The alien plan had failed in the worst possible way. Instead of making humans calm and obedient, their energy field had woken up hidden powers in human brains. Suddenly, humans all over the galaxy started developing amazing abilities. Some humans became much smarter than before. Others could read minds or talk to people without speaking. Some could understand complicated alien technology just by looking at it. Powers that had taken aliens thousands of years to develop through changing their genes and using machines, humans were developing naturally in just a few weeks. Jake listened to all this information with growing amazement and anger. "So they tried to make us into pets, but instead they made us into something they couldn't control." "That's exactly right," Dr. Grant said. "And there's more. The aliens had changed themselves so much over thousands of years that they couldn't survive without their machines and genetic changes. When humans started developing these new mental powers, we began sending out a kind of mental energy that the aliens couldn't handle. Amy Parker had been listening to alien communication frequencies. "I'm picking up some very faint signals from beyond the galaxy edge," she said. "It sounds like they're afraid, really afraid." The truth was becoming clear. The aliens hadn't died or been destroyed. They had run away. When their plan to control humans failed and made humans stronger instead, they realized they had created something they couldn't stop or control. Pete Sullivan shook his head in disbelief. "So the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy ran away from us, from humans?" "Not from what we were," Jake said slowly. "From what we were becoming. They spent centuries trying to keep us weak and stupid. When that failed, they got so scared that they abandoned everything and ran to hide in empty space." Dr. Grant pulled up more files on her computer. According to these records, the aliens' bodies and minds were so dependent on artificial technology that being near humans with awakened mental powers was like poison to them. Our new abilities were slowly breaking down the machines and genetic changes that kept them alive. Mike Davis found technical details about the alien escape. They didn't just run away randomly. This was planned. They built massive ships and space stations at the edge of the galaxy. They're not just hiding from us, they're building some kind of barrier to keep us trapped inside our own galaxy. The two crews realized they had stumbled onto the biggest secret in galactic history. Humanity hadn't been welcomed into the Galactic Council as friends and equals. They had been prisoners, constantly watched and controlled by aliens who saw them as a threat to everything they had built. But now, the prisoners had broken free of their chains and the guards had fled in terror. The question was, what would humanity do with their new freedom and power? The truth hit both crews like a hammer blow. The aliens hadn't died or been destroyed. They had run away. When their plan to control humans went wrong and started making humans stronger, they realized they had created something they couldn't stop. Captain Sarah Mitchell contacted them from her deep space exploration ship, the Aurora's Edge. "We found them," she said, her voice serious and worried. 3 parsecs beyond the galaxy's edge. They're building something huge out there. It looks like they're preparing for war." Jake ordered all the human ships in the area to meet at Sarah's location. When they arrived, they found over 200 human vessels. All of them had been searching for answers about the silent galaxy. What they saw beyond the galaxy's edge was both amazing and terrifying. The entire Galactic Council, hundreds of different alien species with trillions of beings, had built a massive wall of energy and metal at the galaxy's edge. Ships, space, stations, and living areas stretched for millions of kilometers. Everything was designed for one purpose: keeping humans trapped inside the Milky Way galaxy. "They're afraid to live in the same galaxy as us," Dr. Grant said as she studied the alien barrier through her instruments. "After thousands of years of changing their genes and depending on machines, they've lost the ability to adapt naturally. They think our awakening powers will kill them." Admiral Carol Henderson was the highest-ranking military officer among all the human ships. She took command of the situation. "We need to talk to them. This standoff helps no one. If we keep acting like enemies, it will only get worse." The first attempt to communicate came from an unexpected person. A young communication worker named Danny Kim managed to create a mental link with one of the alien representatives. This should have been impossible without special alien technology, but Danny did it using only his awakened human mind. The alien consciousness that touched Danny's mind was full of terror and sadness. Through broken mental pictures, the full truth finally became clear. The council species had depended on artificial improvements for so long that they were no longer truly alive in any natural sense. They were basically organic machines, working by technology they no longer fully understood. Humanity's awakening had created a mental resonance that was slowly breaking down the artificial barriers that kept the council alive. Simply being in the same galaxy as awakened humans would eventually cause their technological life support systems to stop working. "They're not just afraid of us taking over," Danny explained to the other humans, his face pale from the mental contact. "Being near us is literally killing them. Their machines can't work properly when we're around." Captain Bill Turner, who commanded the fast scout ship Swift Arrow, made another disturbing discovery. "The barrier isn't just to keep us in," he reported. "It's to keep something else out. There are energy readings on the far side that don't match anything in our computer databases. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of energy readings? Unknown, but massive. And they're moving. Whatever is out there beyond the alien barrier, it's alive and it's huge. The human fleet held an emergency meeting. Representatives from all 200 ships participated through video links. The situation was more complicated than anyone had imagined. So let me understand this, said Captain Maria Santos from the cargo ship New Horizon. The aliens built this barrier not just to keep us trapped, but to hide the entire galaxy from something even worse. Dr. Grant had been analyzing all the data they had collected. That's exactly right. The aliens aren't the original inhabitants of our galaxy. They're refugees from somewhere else, running from something they call the Silence. They've been hiding in our galaxy for thousands of years. What is the Silence? Asked Admiral Henderson. According to the mental images Danny received, they're beings of pure energy that eat both biological life and technology. They consume entire galaxies, leaving nothing behind. The Council species built their barrier to hide our galaxy's location from these entities. The irony was devastating. The Council had spent centuries keeping down the one species that might actually be able to fight against their greatest fear. In their terror of human potential, they had almost doomed the galaxy to the very fate they were trying to avoid. Captain Jake Morrison found himself in the middle of humanity's most important decision. The awakened humans could force their way through the barrier. They could chase down the fleeing Council and demand answers, or they could take on the responsibility that the Council had given up. We never asked for this job, Jake said during a meeting with all the ship captains, but we might be the only ones who can do it now. Pete Sullivan from the Starbound Fortune spoke up. So what are you saying? That we should let the aliens go and take over protecting the galaxy ourselves? I'm saying we might not have a choice, Jake replied. If the Silence is real and they're coming, someone needs to be ready to fight them. The Council can't do it anymore. They're too weak and scared. Admiral Henderson studied the tactical displays showing the massive alien barrier. Our awakened abilities seem to naturally work against the same kind of energy that the Silence uses. Maybe that's not a coincidence. Maybe humans developed this way for a reason. The debate went on for hours. Some captains wanted to break through the barrier and force the aliens to explain everything. Others wanted to go back to Earth and warn humanity about what was coming. But more and more the consensus was building around Jake's suggestion. The aliens spent thousands of years running from their problems, said Dr. Grant. They changed themselves so much that they forgot what it meant to be truly alive. They called us primitive and dangerous. Maybe they were right. Maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs now. The decision was made by vote. It was close, but it was unanimous among the ship captains. Humanity would stay in the galaxy, not as prisoners, but as its new guardians. They would let the Council go and hide beyond the barrier, and they would prepare for whatever was coming from the dark space beyond. As the human fleet prepared to return to the galaxy interior, sensors detected movement on the far side of the alien barrier. Something vast and dark was approaching from the empty space between galaxies. The Silence had found their hiding place. The final confrontation was coming, and humanity would face it alone. The discovery that the Galactic Council was hiding from something beyond their barrier changed everything. Through careful mental communication, the humans learned the complete truth about the galaxy's history. The Council species weren't the original owners of the Milky Way. They were refugees from another galaxy, running away from creatures they called the Silence. Beings made of pure energy that ate all biological and technological life without mercy. The Council had spent thousands of years building their barrier, not just to keep humanity trapped, but to hide the galaxy's location from their ancient enemies. Dr. Emma Stone was a physicist aboard the research vessel Quantum Leap. She made the connection that changed everything. The awakening isn't random, she explained to all the fleet commanders. Human consciousness naturally works on the same frequencies that the Silence uses. We're not a threat to the galaxy. We're its defense system. The irony was terrible and complete. The Council had spent centuries holding back the one species that could actually defend against their greatest fear. In their terror of human potential, they had nearly doomed the galaxy to the very fate they were trying to avoid. Captain Jake Morrison found himself at the center of humanity's most important decision in history. The awakened humans could force their way through the barrier. They could chase down the fleeing council and demand complete answers and revenge. Or they could take on the responsibility that the council had abandoned. "We never asked for this job," Jake said during a meeting that connected all the ships in the fleet. "But we're the only ones who can do it now." The decision was made by every ship captain voting. It was not easy, but everyone agreed. Humanity would remain in the galaxy, not as prisoners, but as guardians. The human fleet scattered throughout the Milky Way, setting up new colonies and research stations. But their main mission was clear: prepare for the eventual arrival of the Silence. Dr. Lisa Grant established the first Guardian Academy on a planet they named New Terra. There, awakened humans learned to control and use their new abilities. Engineers like Mike Davis worked to understand and improve abandoned council technology, changing it for human use. Military leaders like Admiral Henderson began training the next generation of defenders. The galaxy had indeed gone silent when humans took over, but it was the silence of preparation, not defeat. Where once there had been the constant chatter of 800 species doing business across the stars, now there was the quiet focus of humanity preparing for war. But humans were not just preparing to fight. They were also exploring and discovering things the Council had never imagined. Captain Bill Turner led teams that found ancient ruins on dozens of planets. These ruins were older than the Council, left by species that had lived in the galaxy before the aliens arrived. "The galaxy has had many guardians before," Bill reported to the fleet. "Each time the Silence came, someone stood up to fight them. Some won, some lost, but they all tried." Jake established his headquarters on New Terra, where he could coordinate humanity's preparation. The awakened humans were developing abilities faster than anyone had expected. Some could move objects with their minds. Others could see events happening light years away. A few could even manipulate energy itself, creating shields and weapons from pure thought. Danny Kim, the young man who had first contacted the aliens, became humanity's chief communications officer. His mental abilities had grown so strong that he could sense the Silence approaching from the dark space between galaxies. "They're still far away," he reported to Jake. "But they're definitely coming. They can sense the awakened minds in our galaxy." 5 years after the Exodus, as humans had begun calling the Council's flight, the first scouts returned from beyond the galactic rim. The news was both good and bad. The Silence had found their hiding place, but they were moving slowly, consuming everything in their path. "We have maybe 10 years before they reach us," reported Captain Sarah Mitchell, who had been leading the long-range reconnaissance missions. "But when they get here, they'll bring everything they've consumed, entire galaxies worth of absorbed energy and intelligence." The preparation intensified. Humans built massive defense stations at key points throughout the galaxy. They developed new weapons that used awakened human consciousness as ammunition. Most importantly, they learned to work together in ways that even the peaceful Council species never had. Unlike the aliens who had modified themselves to remove all conflict and competition, humans kept their aggressive and competitive nature. But they learned to direct it outward, toward the common enemy approaching from the darkness. Admiral Henderson commanded the military preparation from a massive space station called Guardian Base. "The aliens were wrong about us," she told her officers. "They thought our aggressive nature made us dangerous to peace, but aggression isn't always bad. Sometimes you need fighters, not philosophers." Dr. Grant's research revealed more about the Silence. "They're not evil in any way we understand," she explained. "They're more like a natural force, like gravity or radiation. They consume life and technology because that's simply what they are. Fighting them isn't about good versus evil. It's about survival versus extinction." The first contact with the Silence came sooner than expected. A small scout force made of pure energy entered the galaxy's outer rim. Human defenders met them at the barrier the aliens had abandoned. The battle lasted only minutes, but it proved that human awakened abilities could indeed hurt the Silence. "We can fight them," Jake announced to the entire human population. "We can win." The main force of the Silence arrived 2 years later. They came not as individual ships or beings, but as a wave of consuming darkness that ate everything in its path. Stars went dark, planets dissolved. Space itself seemed to bend and break under their influence. But humanity was ready. From 1,000 defensive positions throughout the galaxy, awakened humans struck back with weapons made of concentrated consciousness and will. The battle raged for months, spreading across the entire galaxy. In the end, it was not superior technology or ancient wisdom that saved the Milky Way. It was the same stubborn, aggressive, never-give-up attitude that had made the aliens fear humans in the first place. When the silence seemed ready to overwhelm the defenders, humans simply refused to lose. The final battle took place near the galactic core, where Jake led a desperate assault against the main body of the Silence. Using abilities that no council, species had ever imagined possible, the awakened humans didn't just defeat their enemy. They absorbed and converted the Silence's energy, turning the destroyers into defenders. In his final log entry, Captain Jake Morrison wrote, "The Council spent thousands of years running from their fears, changing themselves until they forgot what it meant to be alive. They called us primitive, dangerous, unworthy of the stars. Maybe they were right. Maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needed." The galaxy was no longer silent. It rang with the voices of humanity, the new guardians who had learned that sometimes the best defense against the dark was simply refusing to let the light go out.